All right, man. We live and back in full effect for another episode of the APF podcast, episode 130. Is I the most phenomenal man that shocked the system, aka the coach.
And it's your boy going forward. Hope you guys are enjoying your day, getting ready for the weekend, and having a fun day. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's get this about the way. Been some releases that have been going around in the NW yet again, and I called their Department of Talent, the Department of what did I say? Mm, the Department of Cutting Future Stars. That's what I call them. And I say this because, especially this group called Hit Row, they were in like NXT. Isaiah Swerve Scott, he beat the man that they cut for the North American title. He only defended it on one time, and him and his group, him and everybody else, they got cut. Now the girl that was on there, BFAB, they cut her for no apparent reason, in my opinion. Then they said they had plans for Hit Row on the main roster to keep them three. What happened? They turn around like within the same week. They cut all three of them. So I don't know about you, but for me, I'm just getting really sick and tired of them signing people and then cutting them off when they make it to the main roster. They did it with Keith Lee, they did it with Karrion Cross, and they did it with these guys. So I'm really I love this company, but then I also hate. I'm sorry to hate it at the same time. I used to not hate it before because they were making smart decisions. Now I'm beginning to hate this company even more as a, in terms of cutting people that shouldn't be cut to begin with. I don't understand why you're going to cut somebody out of the group and then you're going to cut the other three people that you have plans for in the same week. And they're going to say budget reasons, but we all know these corporate companies and using that budget reasons as a cover up for something else. There's something else going on behind the wall, behind those. There's always something going on in those offices that nobody knows about. Not even Dave Meltzer himself really knows about too much. So I mean, there are other people that are on there like Tegan Knox, Drake Maverick, who I think he got cut the first time, and then they re-signed him again. And then Jackson Riker, who was not being used much, and a couple other people. So what are your thoughts about these past releases that have been going on for this WWE? Because for me, they just don't make sense to me. But I
Well,
wanted
I
to hear
think
what you got to say.
I think most of their cuts are due to them not having this ability to give everybody a good chance to succeed. You know, I WWE for years clearly be reason why they're doing it now is they used to hold talent per se, just hold it so it doesn't go anywhere. Now they've decided, if we can't do anything with these guys, we're gonna let them go. Their issue is that they bring people to the main roster from NXT from their development brands, and they don't give them the push you need to give them. Like, yes, these guys I've seen them before, but you need to give them a serious push. The Keith Lees, the Finn Balor's when he first kind of became something. There's a bevy amount of superstars or just wrestlers in general who we've seen do great on NXT come to WWE and they just get kind of put into whatever storyline that they may have. And so I think that's really their issue is they have problems dealing with new talent because they've got the Roman Reigns, they've got the New Day, they've got Drew McIntyre, you've got you know Randy Orton, you got Omos, AJ Styles, you got people who already are in pretty substantiated storylines, feuds, and bringing in all these new talent that you named they ain't able to do it. Now we saw them cut John Morrison and
Oh
a
yeah,
bunch of
he's
guys.
the main one.
The
That
main
he's
one that
also
I always I just wonder why. Maybe they think the Miz and Morrison thing that's run its course. It's not that interesting anymore, and they are just like, we're going to cut bait with you.
You know
Maybe they bring
that
him back. Maybe
storyline
it's
that they had going on where Morrison basically got Miz into something that Miz did not want himself did not want to get into, and then he got pissed and he turned on him, and then they never had their like there was no closing. There's no
wait. So it's just like
closing.
a real life thing.
No, I'm talking about the storyline.
Oh,
Like, well, since you don't know this, they was so Morrison 1 week. I think he got him. Morrison basically like used his big mouth and got Miz into to a situation with Damian Priest. Had him had him in the match 1-on-1. He didn't want to get that 1-on-1 match. Put him in there anyway. And then afterwards he lost. He attacked Morrison from behind, and then that's when the last time we seen him because he was doing Dancing with the Stars. So we
oh,
never
so
got to see a closing of that rivalry. We never got to see them go 1-on-1. We never got to see them
okay,
interact at all, and then it was just cut off, gone.
okay. So
So
he's leaving because of Dancing with the Stars.
no, he yeah, that's why we haven't seen him because he's doing Dancing with the Stars.
But then that's why they probably cut him. I mean, you're not going to
No,
pay a
not
guy.
Miz.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about Morrison. I'm talking about Morrison.
Oh no, Morrison. He's not doing Dancing with the Stars.
Okay, okay. So the Miz is doing Dancing with the Stars. So
Yeah.
that's why that's what I'm saying. I think they cut Morrison because Morrison is only there because of the Miz. Like that's the truth. Like that's their thing. So if Miz is going to be gone for months, basically doing Dancing with the Stars, then there's no reason to keep John Morrison there. Now they made now with him compared to all the other wrestlers that they named that were removed. Obviously, if the Miz comes back, they could bring him back. That's probably it. But again, that's another problem. John Morrison is basically only there because of the Miz. His only storyline is with the Miz. He doesn't have any other storylines. Doesn't face anybody else. That's kind of an issue. Unlike the Miz, which was the same thing, which was he was only with John Morrison, but eventually he broke out, became a singles compare, all that. John Morrison never became that really. So that's why you couldn't keep him, right? I remember they build like Shelton Benjamin coming back. Shelton Benjamin has done absolutely nothing. They never give him
No,
anything. No good matches. He just gets wailed on with Cedric Alexander. Then that ended, and I think Cedric Alexander beat him, and now he's
yeah,
back with.
their whole little thing. They were after her business went downhill. They were after they lost the tag team titles to New Day. Their shit went downhill. Then Cedric got fed up with Benjamin. Then they started feuding with each other. Benjamin beat him. Cedric beat him, and all of a sudden they're all of a sudden a team now.
Yeah,
So
because there's nothing for them to do. 205 is a failure in my opinion. So Cedric
no,
Alexander want to
I mean
build
I'm
that
with you
failure
there
show.
now. It's a failure now.
Yeah, it's a failure. It is. Nobody watches this show on there, and I'm sure it doesn't cost a lot, so they don't really care. But that's a failure of the show. They tried to make these cruiserweights happen again, and it didn't work because nobody wants to watch a bunch of little dudes flying around anymore.
I keep forgetting who was the cruiserweight champion, but it's Roderick Strong.
Yeah, who never appears on TV, is
Oh
only
no,
on there.
he does,
Oh,
but he just
I'm
doesn't.
surprised. Yeah.
But defending the title, that's one thing.
Well, he needs to
No,
start fighting real people, but they won't. They'll just keep him on 205. And
oh, he's
that's
on
my
205. He's
thing.
on the NXT brand.
Oh, okay, NXT. I mean, that's good. But these guys all want to go to the main brand, even though I think NXT functions more as a main brand, anyways. With it, I think it's the best out of the three because SmackDown is basically Roman Reigns and Raw is whatever it is. Who knows? But Roman Reigns basically rules SmackDown. That's the entire nucleus of the show. Raw
No,
has no nucleus.
I'd say like a Big E or like a Seth Rollins.
Yeah. But I just don't, they're not at the level of dominance of kind of accumulation of the show like Roman Reigns. Like Roman Reigns is
Well,
like the show. Like he
well,
is everything, man. He really is
well, I
when you
will
watch
say
it.
this that Seth Rollins did have his time at dominance with he had dominated with the Intercontinental title and he had uh back to back Universal title reigns beating Brock. He like beat Brock Lesnar twice for that title. So he had a
Yeah,
dominant run in 2018 and 2019. Now Big E, who knows how long he's gonna have with the title? Probably not as long as Roman Reigns because Roman Reigns is a completely different entity and a completely different animal versus versus Big E, who only just recently got the title. So I see what you mean on that part by
yeah.
Roman Reigns being the bigger star, which is obviously true.
Yeah, he's
But
obviously the biggest star. And to me, I just think SmackDown is really him. Like, yeah, there's other little storylines, right, and stuff, but
but
I
they
really
not like
do.
Roman though. That's the thing.
They're not. Yeah, that's to me, Raw is more kind of the show where everybody kind of has their shine. You have the Big E, you have Kevin Owens, you have Seth Rollins, you have this person. Like
Yeah,
everything
Finn
revolves around
Balor.
Roman, and he's gonna win. So that just makes SmackDown less interesting to me. You've got the bloodline, all that. It just does not make it as interesting. I was hoping Brock Lesnar would introduce some more, would eventually just beat him, so you can actually like try and build up somebody else, beat Roman Reigns twice, put him on the beat, destroy this whole bloodline nonsense, Roman Reigns stuff, Paul Heyman thing, and build something new. But
Like
clearly,
bro, like
they still
I was throw in like a break Jimmy and Jay Uso's arms and then take them out completely and then beat Roman for the title. Some type of dominance. I'm like yeah, I'm back. I never left
Yeah, because right
of
now
vibe
it's
I'd go
every
for.
time, man. Every time those dudes come in and do whatever, like Finn Balor again got thrown to the trash. I don't know if he may be hurt. I have no idea. Is he hurt at all?
No,
Okay, so they
I
threw
mean
him away.
there was a report that he was hurt, but he's good.
Okay, so he's gone. He never even gets this opportunity. He gets beat up, gets a kayfabe injury, and gets shafted. So this is my problem with WWE. This is what they do. They do this trope all the time. AEW is better is in my opinion the best brand in the world because they give me more interesting storylines. They give me more backstage stuff. It and number one, it is like an hour show, so they do have to be a little bit more frenetic. But that's its benefit. There's sometimes the benefit is not always giving more time or making it a longer show. Sometimes that hour is just all you need to make an impact per se. And they have really good ratings on for cable. Obviously, I think if that brand was on Fox the way it is, it would number one, they actually wouldn't be able to say some things they say because it's on cable. One, but if they were able to, it would be actually. I think it would get much more. It would get a better rating than maybe SmackDown. Now with Raw, Raw's got that built-in 20-year thing where they seem to get 2 to 3 million people watch that show for whatever reason. Always do. But I think AEW, you put on the cable on the broadcast network, could beat SmackDown. Raw is always hard for whatever, even though I don't think Raw has been that great over the last couple of weeks, maybe a couple months. But with Big E, I think it'll be better because he's interesting. I would like Roman Reigns to eventually lose. He really does need to lose. Like I don't need no dude here for like 2 years. I don't know.
Because
He's getting close to like 2 years. Remember, people, we're getting close to another WrestleMania. Though you don't forget it. We're in mid November.
we're
WrestleMania's
like
not
yeah,
is a couple months
yeah.
away. Okay, he may be champion for for WrestleMania, and for two WrestleManias. That's nearly 2 years or so. Well, it's not even close. This 2 years would be next like August something. But
Let me see.
I think you can look that up. His because I know his 1 year reign was like a couple
So
weeks ago.
he won on August 30th of last year.
Okay, so let's remember this. August is the eighth month. WrestleMania comes what? Late
It's like
February,
March, April.
March, April. That's 3 4
No, no,
months.
April. It's coming April. The day after my birthday, April 2nd and April
Okay,
3rd.
so it's gonna be 4 months. It's gonna be 4 months to his second year. I think he probably will keep the championship to because I don't know who's gonna beat him.
They're going to. That's what the reports I'm
Okay,
seeing is that they're going to have
are
him hold it until WrestleMania.
yeah, are they gonna give since he can't lose to Big E for the championship? Maybe Big E beats him. I don't know. They haven't really been putting the whole brand versus brand thing at all with Big
They
E.
haven't
And
been promoting it.
yeah, they haven't promoted. They haven't done like Big E, Roman Reigns stuff across the brands. I would love it if Big E beats him. I would like it. Kind of give him a little bit of a doubt going to his next championship match at the next pay per view or on whenever they do these. If they do on SmackDown, he will win. Obviously, it's almost guaranteed he wins on the regular shows. The pay per views, there's a little bit of a chance, but it's not really there. But on if they do it on the SmackDown show, he will win no matter what. I'm sorry, he just will. They're not going to make him lose a championship. A reign that's lasted as long as it has on regular TV. That doesn't happen. It happens at pay per views. So I would like if Big E wins.
I mean, they
Okay,
did that with AJ Styles like 3 years ago, where
yeah,
he literally had where he was literally champion for like 371 days a whole year, and then he lost off of a low blow against Daniel Bryan to turn Daniel Bryan heel. So, you know.
yeah. So I like because Big E maybe turned into heel. I'm not sure. It's very weird. Whatever that is. Some of his actions are very weird. So I would like if Big E wins at Survivor Series, gives Roman Reigns a little bit of doubt. Okay, we bring in Brock Lesnar because I guess he'll be coming back. We're getting to that season, to the big, the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, whatever other pay per views they have. They always change the names every year or so because they can't find names to keep.
Or they just be adding shit.
Or added. What's the last couple pay per views going for this year?
There's
Before
going to
Royal
be
Rumble.
okay. So there's going to be TL. There should be TLC,
Yeah. Okay.
and then Royal Rumble, and then
Okay.
Elimination Chamber, and then maybe Fastlane, and then WrestleMania.
Okay. So we've got only basically three pay per views left, I guess, which would be TLC. So TLC is in December.
Yeah, TLC is like December.
December. So there's no pay per view this month. Okay.
Well, the pay per view this month is Survivor Series, which is like literally
Oh,
in
I'm sorry. Yeah,
2 days.
that's true. So in December is TLC. January is obviously Rumble. It's been that forever. February is you say it's probably Fastlane.
It's probably going to be a Fastlane, eliminate, and then Elimination Chamber is going to be what, March, and then
March.
WrestleMania is
Okay.
April.
Okay. So what's January's Rumble? February is Fastlane. March is Elimination Chamber. Okay. So I don't. I mean, if he
Well,
doesn't lose before Elimination
a quick
Chamber, I
side
don't
note
think
on
he
those
loses.
two pay per views is it might be in February, might be elimination. They might switch.
Okay, so
They might
it's
switch.
just switchable.
Yeah, they might switch. So you never know.
Okay,
But
so
just be on the lookout for Elimination Chamber and maybe Fastlane to be either February and March.
well, if he doesn't, I think if he doesn't lose that Elimination Chamber, he probably doesn't lose until WrestleMania. WrestleMania, if he does not lose, at Elimination Chamber, he's gonna probably lose at WrestleMania against like Brock Lesnar or something. Like that's what's probably gonna happen, you know, in my opinion. So remember they did Goldberg. Goldberg beats, Bobby Lashley. He's gone again. Like they have no direction, that brand, to really, in my opinion. It's basically Roman Reigns and we'll throw whoever for,
Who will make good
Raw.
competition?
Yeah, Raw, we'll have whoever. We got RK Bro, we've got the Street Profits and Omos now. With AJ Styles. Like I don't know who's the tag champs over there anymore.
I think who's oh no, yeah, RK Bros is tag team champions right
Oh,
now.
okay, yeah, sorry. The RK Bros. I don't even know who they're going to be going up against because Omos and AJ Styles got the Street Profits. Actually, I think that somebody won the championship opportunity uh, for them. Didn't that happen?
I think that did actually happen. I just don't know who.
I remember watching it. Somebody won it. Maybe it was Ziggler and what's his face.
Actually, no, they did. Yeah, Ziggler and Rude won it.
Oh yeah, Bobby Roode. Yeah,
Yeah, Bobby
they
Roode. They
won
both
it.
won
So
it, and
they'll
they
face each
lost.
other at, I guess, TLC. I don't think Survivor Series. I think TLC probably, or whenever they do
Survivor
it.
Series, they're facing the Usos. So, which brings me to quickly who I think is going to win the Survivor Series matches is I think from what I'm seeing, I think Team Raw, Team SmackDown is going to win for the men's, and I think Team Raw is going to win for the women, and I think
Mhm.
Becky Lynch is going to win, and think well, the Biggie and Roman Reigns match is kind of hard to say because probably
Well,
Roman's
right
going to win.
now, if it was me, if I was gonna say anything, I would say that Roman Reigns probably wins. That's
Yeah,
just me,
yeah,
you
I would
know,
say that too. Yeah, and
because it's hard. It's hard. It's really hard when the guy won every match for like almost for basically 2 years almost, and it is what it is. So it's just hard, man. It really is.
yeah, yeah, that one's gonna be it's gonna be a good fight though. I'm gonna tell you that, but it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
And I'd say RK Bros gonna win in the champion versus champions tag match, and I said and Damian Priest is gonna win against the champion versus champion
Shinsuke.
United the U.S. Championship versus the Intercontinental Champion. I think he's gonna be Shinsuke again because history has shown that Shinsuke the past three Survivor Series has lost. He's lost. He lost against Seth. He lost against Roddy, and this is going to be like his third time in a champion versus champion match. So, so yeah, I mean that's my picks for who I will think was going to win Survivor Series.
Hmm.
So, so with that being said, let's get into our list real quick.
Okay, let me start with my number one team here. Okay, got the Golden State Warriors, obviously number one. They've had a really good start to the season. They've won
And do I have
uh,
to say anything?
nine out of their last 10. 9 out of their last 10 games. They have a net rating of plus 13.4. What does that mean? They outscore their opponents by 13 points. Steph Curry, he oversees his games. He's gone for 50, 25, 40,
When
24,
you
37.
got somebody that literally jacks up 13 threes a game and makes five of them, you're going to win by double digits.
Well,
I
their
mean,
entire team is actually a very good shooting team. If you look at it, they're the best defensive team, second best offensive team, and a top five 3 point shooting team. So they're the modern day NBA best team in the league type of team, which is they have a bunch of shooters who can defend very well. Otto Porter can shoot and defend. Damian Lee can shoot and defend. Obviously, Andrew Wiggins actually is a somewhat decent 3 point shooter and can defend. And Steph Curry has actually gotten better at defense uh, over the years, as well as put on some weight on his body. And Draymond Green is shooting the three well for the limited attempts he's taken this year. He's actually shot the ball well. So that has led this team to be very, very much, to me, the favorite right now in the West and in the NBA,
I mean,
since they have
they are the
played
clear
very.
favorites by far, though. They are
Huh?
by far right now. They're the clear favorites to win.
Yeah, they're the best basketball team in the world. They are. They've had the most impressive win season, which is they dominated the Nets and held Kevin Durant to one of the few times in his career he will ever go 0 for anything in a quarter. So
I mean, my number was the same thing. I mean, they've been on complete fire, and there's not much to say. I mean, Curry's at the forefront of the Warriors and just taking charge and doing what he always does. And my number two team last week was the Utah Jazz, but now it got replaced by the Phoenix Suns because simply they've been on a 10 game winning streak, and I didn't even know that they've literally been beating teams that they're not supposed to beat. And it's like I said, you beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, and if you beat the teams that you're not supposed to beat, that's going to be better for you in the long run. So they are right now number two on my list simply because they've just been winning. Now, now if they've been like Warriors winning level, no, then that's all good. But nonetheless, they have been on a crazy tear right now.
Well, as well, we're in agreement here. Number two team has got to be the Phoenix Suns. They've won 10 straight games. They've been very, very good. Some of those games without DeAndre Ayton, so they've had Frank Kaminsky come in. JaVale McGee's played a big part, so their bigs are playing well. And Chris Paul is continuing to showcase why he is the point god, why age is nothing but a number for this man. He just continues to dominate passing the ball and taking, those matchups. And Devin Booker has been good this year as well. They've brought back their same team, and their team has been healthy for the most of the year, anyways, outside of DeAndre Ayton. So they have a very good record. There's no issue why Golden State, Phoenix, some of the teams we're going to talk about here, the Miamis, their teams have been relatively healthy, and they have both have deep benches. That's the one thing that Brooklyn, the Lakers, two of the favorites don't have. I actually would say, I know I'm going a little bit of a tangent, but the Bucks also don't have is I don't believe in their benches like these two teams, first and second, are on our list. Their benches are much more, reliable in my opinion, and because of that, they're going to win more games than these teams because their bench can be starters on some teams, especially the bottom like 5 to 10.
So my number three team is the last week was the Bulls, and this week is the same team, the Chicago Bulls. Right now they're on they're 6-4 in their last 10. They're currently on the losing streak right now. They've DeMar DeRozan has been he has been talent right now, man, and being back on the East probably did something because, as we know, DeMar DeRozan was a dog playing for the Raptors. We've seen him be an All Star in the East, and he goes in the West, and he's not All Star level. Because in my personal opinion, I don't think he really liked it over there. He kind of just went over there just because he was obviously forced to go over there. Got traded over there, so what can he do? So, and they beat the Bulls. No, they beat the Nets. They beat they beat the Mavericks. They lost to the Warriors, and they beat the Clippers, and they lost to the Trailblazers, which they're not supposed to lose. The Trailblazers are a terrible team, and the Lakers, they also beat my team. I mean, I'm not surprised. We can't buy a bucket. We got Russell Westbrook at the lead here, so of course, when he's at the lead, shit's gonna hit the fan. And they're supposed to beat the Trailblazers because the Blazers are. Well, then again, the Blazers are at home, and right now they are a good home team. Well, if you catch them on the road, you got to beat them on the road because they're ass. They're 1-7. Hold, oh my God, you can't even be like a 4-7 on the road. Be decent. No, you just can't win for shit on the road. So they are they are still number three on my list right this week.
So my number three team is Miami Heat. If you look at the last 10 games, they are 6-4. They're on a 4 game winning streak. They're 3-0 in their division. They're a very good home team. They're a good road team. They've had some some good games this last week. They had some injuries. They played easier teams, OKC to be exact, and they won those games dominant faction. They did beat Washington, um, and they're playing Washington tomorrow too. So they got a back to back. I've always enjoyed these little back to backs the NBA puts in to try and slow down travel. It gives us a chance to see these teams, change from game to game. But after beating that team when Washington who was actually the number one team, the best team in the conference,
Last
they
week,
became the best team in the conference.
yeah, last week they was.
Yeah, last week they were. Which again, the Wizards are on my top 10. Gotta give those guys props. They
Oh yeah,
let they
they're
let
yeah they
go
are.
of Russell Westbrook, and they've been playing really, really well. But the Heat, man, just a great defensive team, really. So I really believe in that type of team and how they played. From what I've seen, they've only played one game this week. Yeah, they only have one game this week that I've seen. Um, at least that's what it says here on NBA.com, which is that Saturday game. So we'll see. But yeah, I have to give them props. They're the best team in the conference. They've won 4 games and they've beaten every other team under them, which is the Nets, they beat the 76ers, they beat the Bucks, they beat everybody. So you gotta put the number three.
My number 4 team last week was the Suns, and the team that the Suns replaced was the Utah Jazz, and I put them at 4 because they had a little losing streak going on. Last 10 was 6-4. They're good on they can win at the home, they can win on both sides. So it don't matter if they're home, it don't matter if they're at the road. They can win. They're third. They're third in the conference, and these the teams that they lost in these, they're not supposed to lose to the Pacers. Pacers are dog water. They lost to the Heat. Heat are a decent team. They completely obliterated the Sixers, and they completely obliterated the Jazz, the Raptors. I mean, so I mean, they really dropped because they were like they lost. They had like a losing streak. So and then they quickly bounced back with their last 2 games after they had a whole after they lost to the Pacers, especially the Pacers. They're supposed to win, supposed to beat the Pacers because the Pacers are not even in the playoffs right now, and they don't got nobody. So that is who is on number 4 on my list.
Okay. So number four on my net list, I'm sorry, is the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets have played well this year. During this week though, they did get blown out by Golden State. And they did beat Cleveland. They were blowing Cleveland out. Then Cleveland came back, made a 10-point win for the Nets. No KD tonight, so we'll see how much Harden goes off and those other guys. But they played well. I think the Nets this year. KD is clearly the second in the running for the MVP behind Steph Curry, though I think there's a gap now with that win and the dominance that Steph showed that game. But he's been shooting over 50% from the fit, like 57%, like some insane, almost like level of shooting that guys who only dunk and lay up the ball at the rim get, and he's shooting the ball. So he's been incredibly efficient. That's what Kevin Durant does. James Harden has not been the same player, but he has been getting better. I think he should stop shooting more threes. He should stop shooting more threes and start driving the ball and shooting some mid ranges because his step back three is whack this year. Just I'm sure there's a stat out there or somebody record on the step back 3% he's got and it's trash. So he should probably stop shooting those. Uh, During the month of November, they've actually had a very good month. They're on like a what was it like a 3-game winning streak before Golden State smacked the shit out of them, and they and don't forget, look. Now they've lost to the teams that can score. The Brooklyn Nets were held under 100 points against Chicago. Chicago's a good defensive team. They're held under by Golden State. So, against some of these better teams, they've been getting manhandled. That is pretty much what I'm saying during this month. But, they've only lost 2 games during this month out of, I think, it's about 10. So I have to give them props. Their teams played very well, and they've been going well without Kyrie Irving. It's just that without Kyrie Irving, I will say this early on,
They
I
want
don't
to
know.
hit their full potential.
I don't know if they can win the championship without him because if teams are going to box and one you, like Golden State did, that's an issue. And Joe Harris, even Joe Harris comes back. Joe Harris has not been a very good 3-point shooter this year. He had like one game where he broke out. For the most part, he's not been good. So they're a little bit of a of an early pick for me right now, but I have to give it to them. They've played well, and if they want to move up over some of these teams, they've got games against the Phoenix Suns next weekend, New York Knicks. That's next week. a couple weeks from now. So the Suns game I'm looking forward to. They should beat the Celtics and the Cavaliers and the Net and the Magic, but they're losing. But they have no KD, so we'll see.
So my number 15 is on. Last week was the Wizards, and this week is the Clippers because they're right now they they're a good home team. They're a decent away team. They're 9-6. Uh, so and then right now they completely obliterated the Timberwolves and they beat the Blazers. They beat the Heat in a close game, and then they lost to the They lost to the Bulls, who are also who are finally have a good decent offense after lacking the offense for so many years. And they beat the Spurs, and they lost to the Grizzlies, and they can really find their stride with beating the Pelicans, and they got a back to back with the Mavericks, so that's going to be a tough one. And right now, Paul George has been doing an exceptional job carrying the Clippers to where they are right now, and while Kawhi is still out, and I feel like as long as PG-13 is still playing at this level, then Kawhi will have nothing to worry about. But it's basketball. You're gonna have a week where you're terrible, and then you're gonna have a couple more weeks where you're just MVP level. I mean, it's up and down. It's never really consistent for the most part, unless you're something unless you're like a Curry back in his MVP years where he was very consistent with his game, where he had some off nights, but most of the majority of the time he had a good night. So that's my number 15.
So my number 15 is Utah Jazz. If you look at the Utah Jazz through this month, they have played very well. They've only lost, was it? Now they lost to the Magic. That was a bad loss, but if you do look at it, the Jazz do go through these games where they just really are unable to score. Really, if you look at it, Donovan Mitchell only had 21 points, so he was 2 for 12 from three, AF 24. So that's horrible. So it's pretty bad that game. Jordan Clarkson's like their other guy, can really score. No, yeah, no, Mike Conley. So they did lose that game. That's a little bit of a weird game to lose. Yeah, they had like a day of rest and they're at home, so that's really a game you're not supposed to lose against the Mat. Actually, no. Yeah, they play on a back to back. So, but you shouldn't really lose to the Magic, but it happens. They lost to Indiana, who's like you said not in the playoffs. So they've lost a couple of games to these teams who are not in the playoffs. Really, if you look at the statistics of this team, their offensive rating is actually very good. I mean, 113. Their defensive rating is a little bit lacking at 104. They have a pretty high assist ratio by 54%. Assist percentage, I'm sorry, but their assist ratio 16.2. Their turnover assist ratio is actually not great. It's 1.4. You would like it to be a little bit higher than that. Their pace is they have a slow pace. They only get 98 possessions. So obviously, the higher the pace, the more possessions you play. So they are not a team because they have Rudy Gobert that they don't really do that well. But they're my number 5 team because they early on in the season they're hanging in there, winning their first 7 of 8 games and kind of fell off a little bit. But I do think that they have a couple good games coming up. They have them they have easy games. They have the Thunder and the Pelicans, so better win those games. You got the Pelicans. You got the Pelicans twice and the Thunder once. Like you gotta win these games, man. You gotta win these games. They should be making up some ground in the Western Conference. And the reason why they're my and I do think about the playoffs early. The reason why they're my third team in the West, actually, if you really look at it, they're my third team behind the Warriors and Suns because those teams have multiple scores and they only have like one, which is Donovan Mitchell. Everybody else has two. All my teams have two. Look at it. Warriors, Suns, Heat, Nets, two. Jazz have one. And that's always been their issue. They have one. Like Mike Conley can do it, just not all the time. All those other teams get it all the time. Just look last year. What happened? Donovan Mitchell couldn't score. They lost to the Clippers. Or if they weren't shooting threes well, they lost the Clippers. They're really a three and D. They're really a three team. They really live by the three, while other teams kind of go inside and get other shots. So in shorts, they're the third best team in the West because they're probably the most flawed of the best of those three teams, and I think they're better than all the rest of them.
So my number 16 last week was the Mavericks, and now this week it is the Brooklyn Nets. As we said, as we heard before, they've did go home and away. They got that ass slapped by Golden State. Steph just did what he wanted to do, and they whooped that ass on the Thunder, Pelicans, and Magic, and the Cavs. So really, they improved great. They even improved another spot because they have been winning the games that they're supposed to win, and then they lost the game they were kind of not supposed to lose, but they were supposed to at the same time. It's kind of a little bit odd, but they're kind of supposed to lose because Warriors are like the best right now, and they did, but that does not excuse that they were beating the teams that they're supposed to beat. Therefore, they moved up on my spot, and now hopefully they're playing the Magic right now, so they should be able to whoop that ass again. Then they got the Cavs, then they got the Celtics, and then they got the Suns. So what a trend I should see is that they should be beating all these easy teams, and then they should have trouble with a difficult team that they could possibly also beat, which will be better for them in the long run.
So we're on number six. My number six team is the Clippers. They're fifth in the Western Conference. They're 9-6. You look at their overall numbers of the 15 games they've played, 720 minutes. They have an offensive rate of 106, which is not very good. They're actually worse than most the teams ahead of them. All have better offensive ratings, and those teams all except the Nets, probably Nets. They have a 102 defensive rate, which is fairly good in today's NBA. Their net rating is only 4.3, so it's very low. A lot of close games. When you have a net rating that low, obviously with the losses they've had, it's low. But they usually play pretty close games. They have a high assist percentage, about 58%. Their assist turnover ratio is a little bit better than the Jazz, but they're worse than Jazz in all the other important things like defensive rebounding percentage, turnover percentage are actually worse. Their pace is higher due to just not having a 7-foot guy running. So Zubac is a very active, movable, big, so they can run. And why do I like to look at these numbers? Because these numbers really tell you what this team is. And that means they're a fast-paced team who can play some defense, but outside of Paul George, they're not a very good offensive team. A lot of threes. They rely a lot on Reggie Jackson, Eric Bledsoe to score the ball. And if you look, and it's always funny. So on 1 day of rest, right? They've played 12 games in 1 day of rest, and I think if you go on NBA.com, you look at advanced stats, they give you it's just so much information you get. It breaks down by month, November. What did they do during the wins and the losses? And when they're winning, their defensive rating is great, or 96.9. But man, when they lose, they lose. They're losing by 10 points pretty much every game. The rate on the rating scale, she's getting blown out. Their net rating and losses is negative 10.1. I think every other team I've seen has a lower one. So when they win, they win big. When they lose big, and that's not great. Then you look at their team, their bench. Terrence Mann, people are like, oh, Terrence Mann, he is the man. No, he's not the man, okay? He's not.
Yeah, he a little boy.
He's okay. He's okay. He's just nothing special. And truth of the matter is, they need to hold on for Kawhi and hope that he comes back early enough to play some games because ain't no way Kawhi Leonard with his cautious ass gonna come here and play 35 minutes in the first playoff game. Nope. Hopefully he comes back early. That's my thought. Also, they are the eighth best opponent points per game, so they limit the teams a lot, and they score as much as them. So they're a good team. Like it. Go on NBA.com if you want to see any of these stats. You should read them. It'll make you much more knowledgeable about these teams and how they play.
So my number 7 team last week was the Nets, and now this week it is the Wizards because they simply just right now they're 10-5, they're fourth in the conference, and then they're on a losing streak. And last time I seen that, he was high up, but look at who they lost to. They lost to the Pelicans and they lost to the Hornets. So and they also lost the Heat. Well, no, they beat the Pelicans. That's good. And they lost to the Hornets and they lost to the Heat. So, I mean, really, all that tells me is that this is the one. This is the one team that will fumble the bag against teams that they're supposed to beat, and they beat the teams that they're not supposed to beat. So, what? So why put them so low is because if you're going to do one and not the other, then you don't need to be high on my list. And this is also early, but you never know. They can switch up and turn on that switch and just start going crazy and then get a good spot in the playoffs. So that's going to be my number 17.
So, right down here, number 17 is the Bulls. I put them here in number 7. They are third in the Eastern Conference, but I do not think I don't think they're better than Heat or that. I know they beat the Nets, but I still think the Nets, I'm sorry, are better. So, if you look at the list, they are the third Eastern Conference team here. So probably will be more Western Conference teams in my top 10, but they are the third best team. Okay. Net rate, defensive rating 103.7. Very good. They have a 109 offensive rating. With actually, fun fact, with DeMar DeRozan, it jumps up to 1.12. So, he's another 3.3 offensive rating. I mean, that's very good. They are 56.9% assist percentage, so that's somewhat average. They play at a 99 pace, more or less because DeMar DeRozan. They have Nikola Vucevic. DeMar DeRozan can run, but not really. So that their pace is somewhat low. If you look at their on 1 day of rest. They've played, obviously most teams play most games on 1 day of rest, but if you look at that, their defense rating is pretty good. Their pace is pretty much the same. They always play around 99 possessions. And if you would look towards, which means what that means really is that they're more of a medium pace team that can go quick sometimes, but for the most part, they much rather just, kind of set up their plays especially with DeMar DeRozan on there. So they've lost a couple. They've lost to Portland. But Portland is a mediocre team. They're 8-8, so they should have beat them. But that was a game with when Damian Lillard went for like big amount, put like 40 points or something. Finally, like a breakout game. They really need him to break out. He's not helped that team with his play. They did beat the Lakers, the Clippers. They lost. They got their butt slapped by a Golden State. Slapped the shit out of them. They beat the brakes off the Nets. They did lose to Philadelphia twice, and one of those games did not have Joel Embiid, so that's a little bit concerning. They did beat Chicago, so they've had a couple of stinkers here and there, but they do have the Nuggets tonight. They do have the Knicks, who's not my top 10 this week, but they're still a very good team. They've got the Pacers, they've got the Rockets as usual. The Rockets are easy win. The Rockets are in danger of only winning 5 games this year. I really hope they don't do that, but it looks pretty bleak.
Oh my god!
Yeah, go
Five?
if you look up, yeah, the pace they're at, they're only going to win 5 games, which is they're gonna blow out like the Bobcats. Wasn't the Bobcats lose that many games in a shortened season?
They were like what 7-62.
Yeah, no, these guys are gonna be 5 and like 70 something. Like they're gonna lose a lot. And Christian Wood shacks for no Eric Gore shacks for trade when they're like 1 and 25. Like I'm out of here. But you know, we'll see. That and also if
Oh
I
no,
was
they
to
were
do
seven
a
and fifty
full
nine.
30, the Houston Rockets would be 30 like sixth because they wouldn't even be 30th. I think I'll start putting some college teams ahead of them by the end of the year. We'll see. And just a little fun fact on the Rockets. If you want to know something, why I think they're worse than some college teams probably at the end of the year, is that they have 7 players who you would say are replacement level players. What does that mean? That means that they are not even bench players. They're basically like G League players, and and there are 7 of them on that team who play 100 minutes. That team is trash. Okay, trash. But the Bulls are not. The Bulls, I have said this before, they have benefited a lot from free agency. Lonzo Ball looks like he's in basketball heaven right now, doing his thing. DeMar DeRozan is assisting the ball well. He's playing the floor position. He's had a career resurgence. You're right. He's only an all-star in the East because the West has too many shooting guards. So, and Zach LaVine is having a great year with Vucevic. They got Kobe White. Good team. So yeah, they're my number 17. And what are they? Number 7? Yeah, number 17. Very excited for them.
Bro, they were 7-59, bro. Oh my god.
Yeah, but this I think that team is much. I think this team is is much worse. They're gonna lose they're gonna lose a lot.
They're
Ooh.
0-10 for the last 10 games. They were one and
You know
four.
what?
They're one
I
and
know we're in the
14.
little thing, but let me just quickly look up um their ratings. Let me look up their offensive ratings real quick before we finish. Let me just look up their ratings real quick because it's gonna be laughable, like their ratings. So, let me see. Quick, yeah, they're 1 and 14 right now. Um, what is it? Yeah, so they have a defensive rating of 108, which is horrible. That's horrible. That's actually pretty bad. So, yeah. All right, let's go. Moving on this show.
So number 8, my number 18 last week was the Sixers, and they stayed that way because, well, what I'm going to read out from who they lost to is simple, simple as that. Uh, they lost to the Bucks. They lost to the Raptors. They should have beat the Raptors. They lost to the Pacers. They should have beat the Pacers. They were supposed to lose to the Jazz, and I don't think Joel Embiid was playing in that game. Tyrese Maxey showed up as usual, and they only beat the Nuggets out of that 5 games, and they lost to the Sixers. No, they lost to the Knicks. So they had 5 straight losses before they finally beat the Nuggets, which means that this team right now could not get it going. They had like 3 easy dubs. They couldn't get them because why Joel Embiid is not showing up and Tyrese Maxey is, and the rest of the team isn't showing up as well. So that's why they just stayed at number 8 for me. And they just need it's like what happened to the Nets. I mean, they need Ben Simmons, and until Ben Simmons shows up, they're going to struggle a lot harder than they should.
So we're on number 8, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so my number 8 team is the Wizards. The Wizards have played well this week. They've lost to some teams. Yeah. Well, they beat the Milwaukee. Didn't have any of their guys. 2 of their guys are out that game. Cleveland Cavaliers are actually a good team this year. So they're a tough team. They really are. They lost to the Heat, so Heat. Uh, yeah, the Wizards are a good team, and their defensive rating is 103. They have a good defensive rating. They play at a very slow pace. Not surprising, no Russell Westbrook, so the pace isn't high. You probably look at like the Lakers pace. They're probably like 100 something possessions per game. That's the Russell Westbrook effect. They have a 1.71 assist ratio. Spencer Dinwiddie has been very good for this team offensively with Beal. They're better, and Beal has worked more hard in defensive than I've seen him do in years because he doesn't like to be called like a sorry defender. Like he was sorry, but he's a lot better now, so that's good. They've got Denny Avia, who's played well, Kyle Kuzma, who I've been saying consistently, uh, he just did not work with LeBron and Anthony Davis. They take too much usage, and he always played with one of them and can never have the ball in his hands to do anything.
And he was a jigaboo. That's why.
Yes, I understand it was a jigaboo, but it's not uh, surprising to me that once you leave guys who have the usage that those guys have, he's better than he's almost returned back to what he was during his like first 2 years when he was 16, 17 points per game because he's now on a team that's willing to allow him to dribble and do something with the ball and shoot shots. Go the Lakers, I thought he was always too scared to shoot sometimes, and those dudes had the ball all the time. So I'm very happy for him. He was a jigaboo there. He had some kind of weird hair thing and all, and going after and whatever with LeBron. It just seems to be sometimes a new place is important for you to get better, and he did. He's gotten better. He's improved, and they look like a playoff team already. And I think they can win a playoff series in the first round.
Ooh. So my number 19 last week was the Cavs, and this week it is the Nuggets. So my slow computer can. Okay, there we go. And Nuggets are currently sixth in the conference, 9-6. Last 10 are 6-4, and this team has been downhill ever since Jamal Murray got injured. Man, I mean they have not yet to find their stride like how they did like last season. But right now they're decent. They are winning games they're supposed to win, and the only game they should have the only game that they should have kept the undefeated streak alive was the 76ers. They should have beat them, but the Sixers ended up playing better than them. They beat the Pacers, Hawks, Blazers, and lost to the Mavericks. So, I mean, mm, not really much to say other than Jokic is a bit. Jokic isn't the MVP Jokic that we seen last year. Because he has yet to find his stride in the season. He's still playing well, but he's still yet to find his stride. And I feel that second out of the season, they're going to pick it up, and then they're going to look like the team that they once were in the playoffs.
Okay, my number what are we on? Number nine. Number nine
Yeah.
team is the 76ers. They have played well without Joel Embiid, but they really do need him. Offensively, they sometimes have trouble since he's not there. So that's a lot of usage. You got to spread that around. Tyrese Maxey's been the most impressive player on their team. He's really improved with no Ben Simmons. I still think they should just let Ben Simmons go and move on with Maxey. Anyways, their issues that with Simmons, they're unable to get any offense because he can only go inside. Tyrese Maxey can give you everything. I'm not saying he's better than Ben Simmons, but sometimes better isn't always better. Double entendre. They they need a score. That's why I said Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard is not a better defender than Ben Simmons. He's not as big or tall. But the reason why we say he would help them a lot and be better for them is because he can shoot the ball. Tyrese Maxey can do all that. I still think you should trade him away, move on. But they played well this week, this month. They've only lost one. They've lost two. They lost 3 games in a row. Actually, I think that's what Joel Embiid got COVID protocol. Yeah, they lost. Was it four? Yeah, they lost four of the last five games. They beat Denver yesterday. They will play Trailblazers on Saturday. If you look at their numbers this year, they're a very bad defensive team. They're 109. That's bad. That's pretty bad. So their assist percentage is average. Their turnover ratio is actually pretty good. Their pace is really slow. Their true shooting percentage and efficient field goal percentage is pretty average. Their turnover percentage is low, which is good. Goes on a low percentage. They are pretty much the same on the home or road, so they are a consistent basketball team. The which is good at least to be consistent. Whenever during this month of November, their defense has gotten a lot worse. Their offense has been not as good. So this month has not been fair to them. But again, we can attribute that to no Embiid. So that's good. And they've played about 12 games with 1 day of rest, and their defensive rate has been fairly good on that. I think they're the only team in my top 10 to play multiple games of no days rest or back to backs, and they've been pretty bad on defense to be expected. So it is what it is. And on 2 days of rest, the only game they played, they got destroyed. They allowed the team to score basically whatever they wanted. They had a negative 36.2 net rating that game. So I don't know if they need more rest. Maybe they don't. But who knows? They're my number nine.
So my 10th and final team last week was the Nuggets, but this time it is the Boston Celtics, who are currently ninth in the East. They're 7-8. They are 2-3 at home, so they haven't had much road home games, but they have played a lot of road games, and that's where they have been lacking. And right now, they are back to their losing ways. I mean, they beaten the Raptors. They lost to the Mavericks. They beat the Bucks in OT. Seen that game, and they have lost to the Cavs, and then they beat the Cavs. So, so really, this is a very inconsistent team, as we've seen, who just cannot find their stride to save their life out, to save their lives. And upcoming, they got the Thunder. They should be able to beat the Thunder. They got the Rockets. They should be able to beat them. The Nets, they're probably going to get their ass kicked by the Nets. But who knows? And they got the Spurs and they got the Raptors again. So they should be able to they should be able to be positive by the by next week. In my opinion, I'm putting that out there. But it's Boston. I mean, if we've seen their past games, they've been inconsistent. They win a lot and then they lose a lot. There's no winning, and there's no losing. They do a little bit of both, and that's what makes them so good at it. Is because the Bucks are the same way too. They've been winning and then they lose, and that's it. That's it for my 10th and final team.
So my terrifying team is the Bucks. The Bucks they had a really impressive win just now against the uh, Lakers. I mean, they only won by 7, but Giannis had like 47 points, and he made Anthony Davis his son. So that's always fun. Right now
I
they're
mean,
up 11-0 over Oklahoma
are we
City.
surprised?
Yeah, I mean, you're always gonna be a little bit surprised because Anthony Davis should be a better defender, but he clearly has no answer for the brutal physicalness of Giannis, which is he's more than willing to go in that body, and I don't think most guys can take it, especially him, Anthony Davis with the injuries he has, and he's not very physical on the offensive end, so I don't know how he can be physical defensively. So it's not a surprise, but it was interesting. It's basically for him to go basically 90% in the first half. I mean, that really should never happen, no matter what. They lost to the Hawks, but most of these games they did not have Middleton or Holiday as they were in COVID protocols for about 8 games each. So it's really good that they were able to win most of those games. They did lose against the Knicks, against the Wizards. They did beat the Knicks though. Lost against the Celtics. That I watched that game again. Dennis Schroeder had like the best game he's had in the year plus, which is 35 plus points or something. So that's what it took. Atlanta won. Atlanta's a fairly good team. So and they lost to beat the Lakers. I'm sorry. So their defensive rating is not great. Their offensive rating is 107, which is okay. They have a high pace around 100 possessions. They're actually their true and effective field goal percentage is not great. You would like a team if they're a championship team to be around close to about 60%. It's around 57 to 60, and maybe 56 to 59 around effective and true shooting. They're not near. They're pretty much a not a very efficient team, which is why you always want to look at those advanced statistics because they really give you those numbers. They've played more road games. They are they've actually are not they actually have a negative net rating in general, which is why they're negative 1.3. So it shows you that they're not a great team uh, at all. They have gotten better in November compared to October. They played 9 games on rest. Nine games with 1 day rest. They have a negative 2.6. They played 3 games with 2 days of rest. They have a negative 6.1 rating. So this team is probably been more affected by injuries, as we've said. So I really gonna give them that 10th spot. I think they're the fifth best team in the East. They have the best player, but this year's team is nearly not the defensive juggernaut they were last year. And that's it for me.
So, I guess with that being said, this has been another episode of the APF Podcast 130. It is I, the most phenomenal man that shocked the system, aka the coach, signing out.
This is your boy going forward. If you guys enjoy the podcast, please leave a like, comment, rate, and subscribe. And look at those links down in the description below. And we are out.
And we out of here. Ah!
Later.